come once again to discuss things.
Okay, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is...
A geek for fun.
Indeed. We're continuing our fan film reviews, and today what are we reviewing, Alfie?
Today we are reviewing a Superman fan film by Through the Woods Productions called The Day Hope Die.
This is an interesting one to do for... It's technically not even really a Superman fan film. When you get right down to it, it's a Jimmy Olsen fan film of all things. And it's set after Superman's death and Jimmy Olsen doing like kind of a retrospective on what Superman meant to the world, and he's, you know, interviewing people and trying to get a sense of things. Which I think is a pretty strong premise for a fan film. Like it checks a lot of boxes of doing things that are well within limitations, but you can still actually say something worthwhile with it. It's kind of crazy. This has been out almost a whole year now, and it's only got 2,000 views. This definitely of a higher quality than its reputation, I'd say.
Yeah, it's always a wild thing where like how these things get made, because when I was finding for stuff for this review is I don't keep track of fan projects nearly as well as you do, so I had to touch in and I was in the mood to talk about a Superman adjacent thing, so I just typed in Superman fan film and watched like a minute of like the first couple ones of stuff, like just to see like, is this two kids in a backyard or is this kind of a thing, and then this was the one that stood out to me just as having the most intriguing premise. But it was, and it's in like the front page. I didn't have to go to like page 2 or anything. It's there when you type in Superman fan film. So it's kind of weird that it doesn't have more response, especially if apparently it isn't a award winning. It doesn't say exactly what award it is, so maybe they're just.
I mean, it could have won Superman Celebration, possibly.
Yeah, they do fan films there, so that might be it. That might be where it come from. But yeah, again, I always want to, whenever I get like a live action fan film, really applaud the direction if it is done well, and I do think this has, for the constraints and stuff, it is well directed, and we go to a lot of locations, and we cover a large ground of different locales and stuff of the Superman mythos, and nothing is like ever looks cheap or out of place, so I think like this is
in fact that apartment looks very swanky.
Yeah, it's something that's very impressive. So that's something I want to highlight immediately is I think this looks really good. This looks believably that if the CW released like a HBO Max short about like I'm just like, this is what happened when Tyler Hoechlin's Superman did the Death of Superman story. This is what happened to Jimmy Olsen and stuff. Like, I would buy this as like a 20-minute short that they put out.
I could see that. It's funny because freaking One-on-One by Jake Thomas, which is something that we've done a review on in the past on this show, is there on the side, and it's like it's got a very similar kind of vibe to it, of just this very, very scaled down kind of Superman fan film, which I'm sure like hurts you just a little bit, but I do like when we get to see stuff like that and see the fans work with it. It is interesting to take like because so often it's Lois or it's the Kents that are the focus of these kind of things whenever we do like the death of Superman stuff. It's really interesting to take the Jimmy Olsen side of it, and kind of go places with that. I particularly like the way that like Jimmy Olsen doesn't get some kind of like major revelation about Superman in this. He just he doesn't. he doesn't get like a cheap comic book turn the page like shocker revelation. He gets like a truer understanding of what Superman means as a character and what he means to the world that he's in. And I thought it was pretty smart to start the thing on Kent Farm and kind of say, no, we're not having Jimmy Olsen find out that Superman and Clark Kent were the same person. Like, he got really close to figuring it out. If it were Lois, she would have pieced it together, but Jimmy's not Lois Lane, and so he only gets so much information and just has to learn what Superman means on a deeper level because of that, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Jimmy is one of the things that is, whenever they're not in a Superman thing, it always feels incomplete. It always feels like there's a missing factor to it. It's like J. Jonah Jameson not being in Spider-Man. It's like Gordon not being in a Batman figure. They're not. You don't need them in every story, and they don't need to be that much screen time. But if they're not a part of the world, it doesn't quite feel right. So I feel like a fan film taking that and being able to be like, all right, what happens when Superman is gone? All the movies and all the comics focus on Kent and Lane, like you've said. So this lets us have some unmined ground, which is true. Jimmy doesn't often get many. Like, Jimmy's barely at all in the Death of Superman story from the 90s, but even in the better ones, like the actual good Death of Superman stories, Jimmy's there to like take the camera shot, but we don't get to spend time with what that meant of what it felt like to see your best friend and you have to be the one to take the photo of their death. Like, that is something that I think is unsort line. We don't do that specifically. We don't really make note of what went down to kill Superman here. It's not a direct adaptation of the comics because Pa Kent's still alive. It's just that vague notion which can kind of fit into anything, which is again is a good choice because it lets you make your own canon here, makes your own assumptions, and leaves some imagination for the audience to what that could have been. The thing about the characterization of Jimmy here is I wish they went a little further into how I like my Jimmy Olsen, where they're like kind of dorkily cool, in that they're the type of, they've got that Matt Smith Doctor energy to them, where like they're just kind of quirky and will wear bow ties but like not really know what's going on, but also do cool stuff. And there's some stuff in here where like the situations Jimmy does and how Jimmy gets out of like that car gig and stuff, like, are believable Jimmy Olsen situations. I just think for the tone and stuff, it doesn't go as wacky as I might have liked, but I can also understand, like, if you're dealing with mourning and the death of Superman and how this ends, it gets some pretty bleak places. I think that's fine for the material. It's just, I would have liked to see it pushed a little bit further, just because I don't get to see a lot of Jimmy's stuff, you know?
I think that's fair, but I do think they made the right call with the direction they went for with this, where they play Jimmy pretty straight. Because Jimmy Olsen's one of those very malleable DC characters where it can get just very wacky or just very, background noise kind of thing, and they play him just pretty much straight dramatic. Give him a little bit of stuff here and there, but I thought they handled it pretty well, and I think that's probably the right call given the material, especially given where this ends. I did not expect to like freaking kill off a kid in this film. It's funny because so many like comic book things are like, the whole world is going to die. I'm gonna blow up a hospital. This orphanage is being set on fire. But it's like, it's so detached. It you never see the people. It's always so like just vague. Or if you do see the people, it's like just a cutaway shot where they're like screaming or they look a little scared or something before the hero comes in to save the day. Friggin' do a child dying on screen. And just like, be strong like Superman, okay? Like, oh, that one hit, man. That was some pretty heavy stuff to lean into, and I think lesser actors, a lesser fan production would have had a really hard time selling that. And they do a very good job of delivering it without it becoming like unintentionally laughable, you know?
And that's always hard, especially like trying to get child actors, even in film, is normally like a big risk, just because it is such a, it's such a lot to expect from someone that young. But I think they handle it well. I always hesitate a little bit when fan films immediately choose to go to the dark material, because I do think it is such a common kind of easy device. But I think how this handles it and the context around it is what makes it work. And I do think that's important every time a decision like this is made, is because it's not about when Superman was alive, Jimmy had, at least from what we can infer, this version of Jimmy had the this is how the day is saved. This is how you learn to act. This is what gets you to go out and help someone. Like, they had that lesson, which is why this Jimmy is immediately on the goal to help anyone, even if they get their ass kicked, even if they get anything else. This Jimmy is someone that you can imagine is influenced by those years of being Superman's best pal, like of being around that thing. I think the lesson you want to do here in a world where Superman is dead is that does leave the bleaker territory open to eventually, again, we don't see it here with like the return of Superman, but like it lets you have that fertile ground where characters like Bibbo or Lois and stuff can do or be put in more emotionally hostile situations to see how they would react. And I like that Jimmy is put in through the ringer, but doesn't break because of it. They don't exactly feel good, and they don't have an answer at the end outside of the act of failing isn't what matters. It's just that you need to keep trying. Like, yes, we know that even if you do good things, bad things will still happen to people. But that isn't an excuse to give up and become cynical. That's an excuse to just do them anyway, because bad things are going to happen regardless if you do anything or not. So you might as well try, right? And that's like the most Superman lesson you can give. And to me, that rings a lot more true than like the generic. Because this story is called like The Day Hope Died. And we use the word hope a lot in this, and it's kind of become like a kind of meme that any Superman story can just say hope, and it doesn't have to be about anything because like it just it's like that catch-all term, and it rings hollow, and it is kind of laughable sometimes. So I think this does a really good job of using the Superman world and a character like Jimmy Olsen, who is often looked at as hokey and doesn't work in serious contexts, and to let them work just fine in serial context. I do think that is a worthy and noble aspiration to do, and I think it's well handled. And it could have been really, it's a minefield to walk. And we've talked about this before, about my distaste for like overly edgy things when they're not handled well. So I think this deserves extra praise because it walks the tightrope and does pull it off.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the acting a little bit, because so often with fan films, it is a matter of you get who you get. Most people that act in fan films are not actors. They are people who are fans of the product. They're like the guys you know from work or the comic shop or just what have you, or family. And they kind of look the part, or they're the person you can get that's willing to do it. They're not really actors. I don't know if all the people that show up in this are actors or not, or if they're just the people that they got to do it. What they give to these characters, what they write for them, and how the actors portray it is really, really well done. I don't know if the Martha and Jonathan Kent people are actors. They don't like... I'm not like, wow, such amazing, portrayal. But they sell it so genuinely, and it's understated, I guess is the word I want. It's like, it's not, Oscar bait, I guess. It's just so perfectly, professionally serviceable that I was very impressed by that. I don't think there's a performance in this that feels really forced, or I feel like someone's having to tell themselves, don't look at the camera, don't look at the camera, don't look at the camera. Like, I feel like everyone in this, actor or not, does a really good job delivering the material. And as you mentioned, the child actor does really, really well, especially given even, professional studio films sometimes have a really hard time getting child actors down right.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, the Martha and Jonathan had some little moments where I was maybe like, okay, these are like someone's parents or something, but that was also something where going through the lens of it being a more subdued take and being just like it's again the situation you put them in when you have a Jimmy who doesn't know Clark was Superman, and you have the Kents in this very awful situation where even after their son's dead and buried, they can't talk about it and they can't be honest about it for people like that. That is such a shitty situation for them to be in. That you can understand them being like not know how to feel. So I think that can pull off and that can work really well. And I do think it's a really well written scene. I think the stuff that we do get here with Lois is good, and I think the just general like the side characters and stuff like the one-off things that we see, no one stands out as like, oh, this just took me out of the film. Like you can tell, like the best actors probably got the named roles, but everyone here does a really good job, and everyone here should be proud of the effort they did because it all brings it together to make this feel like. It doesn't feel like it's just a couple of friends outside a lot or something just in all locations they could get to. It really does feel like we go across the breadth of the people affected by Superman's lives on a big and small scale, which I think is a really impressive feat for a fan film to cover not only Smallville but Metropolis and the regular just everyday lives of other people in one 20-minute thing. That takes a lot to pace that well and to not that have to be jarring, and I think that is pulled off well.
Do you think that they would have gotten more mileage after if they'd done the Kent thing more toward the middle, or do you think it was the right choice to open it with that?
I think that one you do have to open it with because it is the. I mean, maybe you could have had a phone call with Martha again later to get maybe a little bit more out of that, but I feel like you have to open with it because that's what takes you from where Superman began to, like, Jimmy unwittingly does Clark Kent's steps, right? They start it's like the retracing of like Jesus, where you start in Smallville and then you go to the big city and you see the changing attitudes of people along the way. Like, I think that, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but the way that works out, I do think is really nice and works a lot with the material of Jimmy basically having to become a Superman of sorts, at least in his mindset. So I think you do want to keep that element. And again, like you've said before, that's the most immediate way to open with Jimmy does not know Clark is Superman, which is integral to the material in this one working, and this version of Jimmy Olsen, who was Superman's best pal, but there's still that like distance there because he didn't know the identity. Like, the relationship is not as fully formed as it would have been otherwise.
I'm always surprised that the Kents never let out that Clark was Superman.
I think it's
like, I know why it doesn't happen, but I'm always surprised that like they there's never been anyone that does that.
I think it's just one of those things where the Kents and just in general kind of know it's not their place to do that kind of thing. Like with Spider-Man, you can kind of buy it a little bit more because like, well, Peter really shouldn't be doing this because this is fucking dangerous. With Superman, I think it's like by the time he's Superman, he's already fully grown as adult, and he's also just a god. So like, they respect the choice, and as well, I think the Kent specific, because there's been stories where like Lois has told people and it's like the Kent specifically. I think everyone just understands that these guys are fucking saints. They're not letting anything fucking slip.
Fair enough. I don't know. It's just one of those things like You think someone would be like, hey, Martha, let's tell it. No, Jonathan, we can't. I don't know. It's just something. I just, again, on the acting, I really like the Jimmy actor. I think he has to carry all of this because he's in like every scene. And I think he does a really fantastic job. Everything from the, very emotional way that things end with this, to the just like kind of more subtle things. Like, again, when the freaking hitchhiker gets in the car, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do the Superman thing. I'm gonna be nice to people and help out everywhere that I can. He just immediately gets like smacked down for it twice in a row. Like, I kind of like that he gets no victories out of this. Like, he decides to pick up the hitchhiker to do the good deed, and he gets punished for it. He decides to stand up for the girl against the abusive boyfriend, and he gets knocked out for it. He goes running when he hears the danger, and he has to sit there and hold a child when he dies, and then he volunteers to go tell the mother like the worst possible news you could ever tell a mother, and he gets no like emotional like closure for that. She just leaves as naturally as she would, because it's like the immediacy of it she needs to see for herself. She doesn't have time to console Jimmy in that moment. So Jimmy's just kind of left with like all of the worst possible outcomes from any of these things, and I think that plays well with kind of what the article ends up being about. It's like Superman saved us all the time, but there were all the times that he couldn't. There were all the times that it just didn't work out, or it wasn't possible for anyone, even Superman, to save someone in this situation. I got to find out what that was like. It's kind of like that scene from fucking Irredeemable.
They're taking the right lesson from it.
So I don't know. It's just that was very impressive in how that all kind of came together, and I thought that was really well done.
Do we have any critiques that we can think of? Because I've got one. It's kind of just a silly critique, but it's also kind of not, because I don't like it when stuff does this.
Why don't you go with that? I'll see if I can think of any slaps on the wrist to give this one.
Okay, so like, there's that whole scene where they're like, Lex Luthor wants to come out, and then Jimmy says, not every Superman story has to involve Lex Luthor. And like, I understand you're right, but don't give me a Jimmy Olsen talks to Lex Luthor about Superman's death scene and then not do it. Like, that writes it fucking south. Like, you need that scene.
Nah, I actually agree with him. I think it's stronger for not including Lex, for leaving it in such a small thing. I think it's strong for not even really including Lois. Just showing Lois grieving, watching Dark Crystal, I'm assuming on Netflix. We all have our processes. But like just showing Lois just behind the head, and she doesn't even really know what to say, or clearly she's going through this in her own way, but reaching out and being all like touchy-feely isn't Lois Lane's like way to grieve necessarily. Like, obviously there's the famous Death of Superman panel where she's like holding Superman's freshly dead, like still warm body and crying, and like that's the in the moment, like where the most horrible thing in the world has just happened. But like, yeah, Lois Lane's a very reserved person as far as emotionally. So the idea of Lois grieving outside of that, like with others, probably doesn't resonate. So I think it's smart to really only show Lois the one time very briefly and show she's kind of doing her own thing. And I think it's smart to just keep this entirely focused on Jimmy. And you get this scene with the Kents, and you really don't even really get to see them grieving because they're having to put up a front. I think it's pretty smart to the only named character that really gets to have any proper reaction to Superman's death is Jimmy Olsen.
Yes, but like I said before, I don't. This is not logical, Alfie speaking. This is just, damn, that scene sounds sick. Let me see it. Yeah, you're right. You're objectively right, but it's just like, I mean, you guys ever want to do something else? You know, just put the Lexan on a thumbnail. You know, it will help out a little bit. Just for good old Geek, do it for me. You know, because again, it's fun. It's a great thing. I would have liked to see that again. But something's a cute moment. I had to point it out because I know in the moment I was like, oh come on. Got me all,
we
got me
demand a
all hard and then blue
recount.
balled me. This son of a bitch.
We demand a recount. We were robbed.
We were robbed.
Yeah. Fair enough. I don't know, man. Like, I don't necessarily have any major critiques against this film. I think nothing really stood out to me as I was watching it that made me think, oh yeah, that they could have improved that. They could have improved this. Like, a lot of the stuff on here is just, you know, very competent, very well done. You know, it's not shaky cam. It's lit well. I can clearly see what's going on in every scene. There's comprehensible audio. Like, a lot of the things that are problems in other fan films that I'd usually like take a minute to just give some advice to for like the filmmaker's sake aren't here. You know, like, it's just everything is handled competently from a technical side. I think the story makes a lot of really good choices and really smart choices. I don't really have any negatives from a story side. I mean, because let me just ask you this. Did you assume Doomsday when you watched this?
Yeah, just because that's the famous one, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, it maybe would have helped to give, like, some kind of indication, like, maybe, like, a newspaper, like, picture or something like that that just lets you know what this was that killed Superman, because it would maybe add some extra context with it, because, like, if this is All-Star, it's kind of a different connotation to the ending, you know?
Yeah, now I really want to see that Lex interview.
So, like, I mean, I think that's a different kind of thing, but, like, as it was, I mean, maybe that would have been nice to have in, just so we as fans would have that added context of what killed Superman in this story, but it's not wholly necessary. I think it functions fine without, and you kind of just assume Doomsday. But, you know, I don't think I got much else besides that.
It's the
I thought it was well done.
original Siegel and Schuster death of Superman, where Lex Luthor becomes his new best friend and then poisons him, and then Supergirl becomes the new hero. That would also make me really want to see this Lex interview. Because every death ending changes the context of that completely. That's really funny.
It's one of those weird, like, Silver Age deaths where he just, like, fucking stepped on, like, a kryptonite thumbtack or something.
No,
you know?
it's fucked up. Like, Lex Luthor redeems himself.
No, I'm saying I'm shitposting.
Oh, never mind.
I don't want to hear about Lex Luthor's Silver Age stuff. I don't give a fuck. I bet it's bad. I bet it sucks.
Right.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. I mean, we're at about that point, so I don't really have much else to say about this one. Did you have any other lingering thoughts you wanted to get out?
I'd like to see them do some more, and I hope this gets some more traction because it's really, really good, and it's a shame that it doesn't, because I think this is of a quality and of a writing thing where I prefer it to a lot of other bigger fan films that people do, and I think it deserves some things. So yeah, check this one out, folks. If anyone listening to it that hasn't checked it out, because it's only 20 minutes, it's not long, and I think if you're a Superman fan or Even if you're not a Superman fan, Superman's not in it, so there you go. He's dead, in fact. So now this is made for you, the Superman hater. We killed him. We got the son of a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if they are going to do another one, I would hope that they take the chance to scale up. I would like to see them do something with, assuming Superman, I would like to see them do something with Superman in cape. That would be nice to see. It doesn't necessarily have to be like flying around doing a bunch of stunt work and stuff, but just something with costume Superman would be cool to see too. In this style, doing something more, more heartwarming or whatever would be nice. All right. So next week we're gonna do something a little bit different. So there is just a straight, like, I think it's about 20-minute fan film, and we'll watch, and that will be the primary focus of the review. But there's like a 6-part series leading up to the film that it's weird. We're gonna watch the making of before we watch the fan film, is what it comes down to.
Okay.
You ever seen anything from the channel Hacksmith?
No.
They're like they do a bunch of like real life versions of like superhero props and stuff. Yeah. So they've done a 6-part series called the Hackalorian, where they're trying to replicate every part of the Mandalorian suit. And it's not like all necessarily 100% functional. A lot of it, some of it's like style over like actual functional substance, but they really went through it. They fucking built the suit. And they do this a lot, where they'll make like, oh, we made Captain America's shield, or we made Thor's hammer, and it actually shoots electricity. And it's cool, but then that's usually it. They just kind of like make the prop and then break stuff with it for half an hour. They did something experimental, and they made a fan film to show off the suit. So it's kind of a Mandalorian fan film and kind of just like its own thing. So I'm interested to talk about it. It was a unique experiment on their part, and it's something I kind of want to get into. So we'll be reviewing the Hackalorian series, and we're gonna review it in the order it came out. So they've got a playlist on their channel. Just start at chapter 1, where they start building the parts of the armor and everything. And then we'll talk about the fan film itself too. So that'll be fun next time. Shit, dude, I fucking skipped over ratings, didn't I?
Yeah, but now we get a chance to do it if you're still here.
Yeah, my bad. I fucked up. Anyway, for the Jimmy Olsen fan film, I think like it's just really, really well done. So I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5. Superman hoodies that make me sad.
Nah. I'm gonna give this again. It was really well done, and again, it focused on a character I really love who doesn't get enough shine. So that's always a win for success. I'm gonna give this 5 out of 5 Lois Lane Netflix watch histories, because I want to know what she binges.
I mean, do you think she binges like trashy stuff, or do you think she's like fact focused, like documentary watcher?
Oh, absolute trash.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for the background noise.
Okay. All right. And until next time, I'm the philosopher.
And I am the champion of the oppressed.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be.
Oh no, it's Tuesday! Ah!